Peace and love, y'all. It's your brother A.D.V.I.S.S here with another episode of What's the Word Wednesdays, Season 4, Episode 6. Now, as we usually do, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in our logo for tonight. At the same time, as y'all are coming in here, y'all let me know how y'all doing, how y'all feeling, and what's the word. But I love how I keep these back so far, so then I can have it right up there. Bam. I got to pop it back up a bit earlier. All right, let me go ahead and I'm going to drop down in the comments the topics for tonight as well. So we'll be popping it up in there. Shouts out to all the folks coming through right now. Castro, peace and love. Jacob, Jay, how you doing, my brother? What's the word? Y'all let me know if y'all can hear me clearly too. I know I ask like every other episode, but sometimes when you get some newer stuff, it'll bug out for a bit. So y'all let me know if y'all can hear me as well. But much love to everybody in the building. If you're checking it out, shouts out to all y'all that's here, as well as those who will be watching this later, whether on Instagram or YouTube. If you are there on YouTube, go ahead, subscribe to your boy at A.D.V.I.S.S Speaks. I'm working on other content, so it's just not these videos, and it's just not me rapping and freestyling and all of that. There's going to be more content, so stay tuned. Subscribe to your boy at A.D.V.I.S.S Speaks. Yeah, y'all, we in here. So the other thing too is, don't forget, put down how y'all feeling, how y'all doing, or what's the word inside the comments. Put it down there. And for tonight's episode, we're going to be going through these three things. The first thing, of course, usually come in here, we're going to do current events. So we're going to do some news topics. I have a few in mind to speak on. And then after the news topics, we're going to talk a little bit about some sports. I'm not usually a sports dude, but we'll talk a bit about sports, especially in the context of the last question, which the last question is going to be about, can entertainment be more than just entertaining? If you get what I mean. So we're going to get into all of that on tonight's show. But with that, let's go ahead. As more people are coming in, I'm going to go ahead and let's just get started with the show song so we can get this show into account and ready to go. Now, if it's your first time here, you don't know what's going on and how it all is clear. This is the show song. I sing it, but eventually it'll be a real song, so you ain't got to worry about me singing it. But here it goes. What's the word, y'all? What's the word? What's the word, y'all? What's the word? What's the word, y'all? What's the word? Tell them like, what's the word? What's the word? What you heard? We gotta know, yeah, what's the word? Again, peace and love, y'all. It's your brother A.D.V.I.S.S back for another episode of What's the Word Wednesdays, Season 4, Episode 6. This time I put the fingers up. But again, shouts out to y'all that's up in here, man. Much love. Posh, 2 times. I see you in here. Peace and love. Jacob, I see you in here. Castro, I see you in here. And there's so many more folks that's be coming in and coming through. So shouts out to y'all. Now, again, for today's topics, or tonight's topics, I should say, we're going to be getting into current events. So if folks in here and those who are watching this, you can skip forward about 15-20 minutes for those later on. But for right now, if y'all don't want to stay in here, I'm going to be talking about current events for the next 15 to 20 minutes. After that, we're going to get into the next topic, which we're going to talk about sports. And then lastly, we're going to touch on, can entertainment be more than just entertaining? And that's how we got there. But with that, y'all, let's go ahead and let's look at and let's get into these current events. So I have a couple in mind that, again, these are news reports that when I go and look for this stuff, it pops and it just comes to my attention. So I'm only picking the ones that do be popping into my attention or grasp my attention. Other ones, I'll go through and I'll just show you bits of them. But if y'all have any news or anything y'all want to share and put down in the comments, whether good, bad, or in between, please throw it down in the comments. I appreciate you. Appreciate your support and also your participation. Now, first one that we got for y'all. This article comes from NBC News, and the headline reads, Supreme Court justices release new financial disclosures, but not for Tom or Alito. So we're about to see what this means. And when I do these, it's either 2-3 paragraphs and we're out. So let's go ahead and start with the first article. Article reads, a fresh batch of financial records for justices for the U.S. Supreme Court was published by the federal judiciary on Wednesday, today, which shed some light on their income and affiliations outside of the court, but did not include key details that critics said will contribute to an elevated atmosphere of mistrust. Do y'all see that? So y'all trying to see who's really paying into these folks and where they really getting their money from. This is what it was supposed to be, but that's not necessarily the case. Shouts out to Two at the Temple. What's good, my G? What's the word? Much love. Melbourne in the building. Representing. Continuing. These highly anticipated disclosures, which will cover all of 2022, arrive in the wake of revelations about Justice Clarence Thomas's financial ties to Texas billionaire and GOP mega donor Harlan Crow, which critics have called an overt breach of rules and norms, and have prompted renewed calls for more robust transparency and enforcement. Thomas has denied any wrongdoing. But on Wednesday afternoon, when the records were published online, Thomas's was not among them, suggesting that the conservative firebrand requested an extension. Justice Samuel Alito's documents were also unavailable online. A court spokesperson was not immediately available for comment. So, again, I'm going to leave the article here. I'm not going to read all of it to y'all. So what is this really trying to tell us? At least these first 3 paragraphs is basically telling you that so many Supreme Court justices is hiding not only their financials, but who they're getting backed by, because it causes friction. And when I mean causing friction, if you were to say that, oh, I'm against drugs, and then you have a donor that is basically a cigarette company or a vaping company that is sponsoring you while you're in the U.S. Senate on top of the money that you're already making, that's, again, contradictions, as well as that is a conflict in interest. So they just want them to be transparent. Some of them are trying to hide. That's what's happening. But again, if y'all want to read more about this article comes from NBC News, and the headline reads, Supreme Court justices release new financial disclosures, but not for Thomas or Alito, I should say. Just at work tuning in. I appreciate it, my friend. Appreciate it. Do what you gotta do, man. I appreciate you coming through for a bit just to come hang with the brother and just let me know what you're up to, my man. It's love, it's love. Right. And shouts out to Muth. I see you in here, my brother. Good to see you. What's the word? Next one comes from AP, aka the Associated Press. And this article states New York City sues 30 countries over xenophobic orders banning migrant relocations. So, 3 paragraphs, and we out of here. All right, article reads, New York City sued nearly half the state's counties. Oh, I did this wrong. It's not even countries, it's counties. My bad. That's how much you know that I can't read. It says New York City sued nearly half the state's counties Wednesday over their attempts to keep out international migrants. The latest escalation in an ongoing battle between city officials and local leaders. The suit, filed in state court Wednesday, again today, accuses at least 30 New York counties of seeking to wall off their borders to asylum seekers through xenophobic executive orders that violate state and federal law. Achilles was good. Peace and love. Even if it's just a quick drop through or a random drop through, much love to you. What's the word? These counties have implemented misguided and unlawful executive orders premised on the false claims that the prospect of a few hundred asylum seekers sheltered at the city's expense across multiple counties constitute an emergency and peril public safety, said Sylvia Hines Raditz. Almost sound like Raditz from what's it call it? Dragon Ball Z. A lawyer for the city. Now, I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to read any more into it. But again, let me read the title correctly this time. So this article came from the Associated Press, if you want to look it up. And the headline read, New York City sues 30 counties over xenophobic orders banning migrant relocations. So the folks seeking asylum and finding a way to get it from their other countries. Not countries, but then the counties that New York is suing. Yeah, it's hilarious, y'all. Again, every time. Y'all not only come here just to see me fumble over words, but y'all also come to see me mispronounce things or just make fun of me. It's all good. It's all good. And Ray, good to see you in here. Peace and one love. 360, all the degrees almost. All right, next one. I'm going to read the two, and then the rest of them, I might just breeze through them just so then we can continue going. But this next article comes from Fox News, because I've been hearing about this from other people. So I'm going to read a little bit, and then I'm going to read the rest later. But headline reads, FBI willing to allow all House Oversight Committee members to view Biden doc alleging criminal scheme. Source. So this is about old boy, a.k.a. y'all's president, Sleepy Joe over here. So let's see. 3 paragraphs, and then I'll let y'all read the rest if you want. Article reads, the FBI is willing to allow all members of the House Oversight Committee, the HOC, to view the subpoena document that alleges President Joe Biden was involved in a criminal bribery scheme, a source familiar told Fox News Digital. The source familiar said all members of the panel will be able to view the document in question, an FBI generated 1023 form in a secure location. It is unclear whether the secure location will be in a SCIF on Capitol Hill or at the FBI's headquarters. Interesting. The offer comes from the HOC chairman, James Comer, which is a Republican in, I guess this would be Kentucky. Maybe he's doing this wrong. It's set to begin contempt of, this is hilarious. I'm sorry. Every time when I have a song playing that I got, they literally have some words that I be using in here, which is contempt in one of the songs. It's called verbal attempt. Sorry. But back to it again. So the chairman, James Comer, is set to begin contempt of Congress hearings against FBI Director Ray Thursday for failing to comply with the committee subpoena for the document. So they about to get this document. I don't know what's going to be in here. Man, you stay golden as well, brother. So I don't know what's going to happen in particular, but sometimes a lot of this stuff is not looking good. You got all these folks now saying, checking their resumes and checking their backgrounds, because sometimes we just let whoever and whatever just to go ahead and lead, and we don't know much to anything about them besides what affiliation or political affiliation they're a part of, but we don't know any other backgrounds alongside that. So yeah, it's about time that people are asking for your aka your Carfax. They need to know what's going on. Right, if y'all want to read more, this came from Fox News, and the headline read, FBI willing to allow all House Oversight Committee members to view Biden doc alleging criminal scheme. Sources. That's all it says. Right. Next one I got for y'all. To all my Canadians right now, I hope all is well with you. I didn't know that you guys had a wildfire going on, but this is what this next article is about. Again, another one from Associated Press. And the headline reads, Canadian wildfire smoke spreads hazardous air in both. And this one has to be countries. I was about to say counties, but countries. Countries and counties is tripping. But again, Canadian wildfire spreads hazardous air in both countries. So let's see what's going on. The article reads, smoke from Canadian wildfires poured into the U.S. East Coast and Midwest on Wednesday. Yes, it is countries. It is just not counties. It is also countries. Covering the capitals of both nations in unhealthy haze, sending school recesses indoors and prompting people to fish out pandemic-era face masks. Oof. While Canadian officials expanded evacuation orders and asked other countries for help fighting for more than 420 wildfires or fires nationwide, air quality with what the U.S. rates as hazardous levels of pollution extended into central New York. So also my New York folks, please be careful. With massive tongues of unhealthy air extended as far as Virginia as well, and Indiana as well. Y'all, please stay close and stay safe. Not stay close to the fires, but please stay safe. Stay away, get away, whatever you need to do. Goodness. In Baltimore, where officials warned residents of Baltimore as well to stay indoors when possible and limit outdoor exertion, Debbie Funk sported a blue surgical mask as she and her husband, Jack Hughes, took their daily walk from Fort McHenry, a national monument overlooking the Patapsco River. The air hung thick over the water, obscuring the horizon as the distant ships pushed slowly through the haze. So my goodness, man, these fires. So everybody in Canada as well, too, especially in those parts close around, please stay safe. Get what you need to get out of this hazardous air. And if there's more help that's needed to get these fires done, let them be to have that help. But other than that, if you want to read more on this, again, this article also came from the Associated Press, and the headline reads, Canadian wildfire smoke spreads hazardous air in both countries. Not counties, countries. All right. Boom, 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 boom. So another one, I'm just going to give some shout outs for these last ones, and then we're going to keep it pushing. So shout outs for these last ones we have is, this article comes from DC News Now, and the headline reads, House cancels votes for rest of week amid floor chaos. So if folks don't know what was going on, they were having the votes for figuring out about the debt ceiling and things of that sort. So that's what this is for. If you want to read more about it, again, this comes from DC News Now, and the headline reads, House cancels votes for the rest of the week amid floor chaos. Next one for our LA folks, because there's been stuff going on with that too. This one comes from A.D.V.I.S.S. And the article headline reads, LA County supervisors take initial step towards a ban on artificial stone countertops. I don't know what's going on with the stone countertops or what it's doing, but there's an issue going on there with it. I may even hold this and keep this one if I go read it later. But again, if you want to read this article comes from A.D.V.I.S.S. And the article headline reads, LA County supervisors take initial step towards a ban on artificial stone countertops. Interesting. Listen up and get ready. So now, some honorable mentions. If y'all want to know about these honorable mentions, you can go to www.npr.org. And if you're wondering why I picked these certain sources, there is a whole spectrum of news sources that are either more leaning right or more leaning left, and then more that is in between that are a bit more neutral. From what I remember looking at that whole spectrum, NPR is one of those neutral resources. So if you want to for news, npr.com or npr.org. So one of the other headlines, it says Supreme Court justices minus. Yeah, so they also have stuff on the Supreme Court justices. They also have Puerto Rico lost its only elephant and cracked open a well of emotions. Didn't know that. In a climate of rife and hate, Elliot Page says the time felt right to tell his story. Not too sure who that is. A Canadian actress from what I'm seeing. Soccer, shocker. Lionel Messi says he will join Miami's MSL team. I thought Messi was done. It was between Messi and also Ronaldo. So yeah, Los Angeles Times to lay off 13% of newsroom. So man, a lot of these news, not only sponsors but just shows and things of that sort. They losing funding, losing money. They losing the viewership. So that's what happens. They gotta do all these cuts. There's a lot more stuff. There's a lot of other messages and stuff that are on here and a lot of other articles, but I'm not going to read through all of them again. If you want to, you go to npr.org and you can look through some stuff. But other than that, if y'all have any news, please, y'all can throw them down in the comments. Y'all can let me know if you have anything that you like to share, even if it's good news for yourself or what's happened throughout the week so far for you that you've enjoyed, which I like to call the strength. As I am getting ready for the next part, let me set some stuff up. But if you do, please let me know. Put them down in the comments so that you can end up having your input in there, because I appreciate y'all. Oh wow, this is okay. Interesting. All right. Well, with that being said, y'all, we're going to go ahead and we're going to close out the news reports for today and all the current events. And now we're going to move to the next topic. And before we get to the next topic, of course, I got to do my disclaimer. So, disclaimer. As much as I love to just talk to y'all here, the camera, you are more than welcome to come on and also join on camera with me and speak and talk about these next few topics. If you feel comfortable to do so, just know that you are waiving your rights and that this will be also on Instagram, YouTube, and other platforms. So if you're not comfortable with that, then it's okay. You can stay in the comments and go from there. But if you are, just know that that is the case. So I appreciate you and thank you for this disclaimer. All right. So the next topic that we're going to get into for tonight is we're going to be talking about sports. Yes, we're going to be talking about sports. What, Avis, you talk about sports? You watch sports? To be truthful, I do not. I used to keep up a long time ago when I was really into sports. I used to play multiple different sports, whether it was football, basketball, ran track. In a moment of time, also was about to start playing soccer, but again, was doing too much. So, I didn't do any of that. But what about sports are we going to particularly talk about? So, I have some sports pulled up here, and I'm gonna go through and just really commentate, especially about the main one that people are talking about right now, which is the NBA, because we're in the NBA Finals. But specifically too about the importance of sports for those who really don't care about sports. Why is that the case that you really don't care about sports? What relevance does sports hold for you in your life? All of those different stuff when it comes to the topic of sports. So it's just all in there. I'm just, again, experimenting with this, having fun with it, and we're just running with it. So all of my sports fanatics who are out there looking at me like, if you don't know anything about sports, why are you talking about sports? I play sports. I used to watch sports. Now I just want to go through and see what's happening as of late. So don't get on me. All right. So the main sports, I'll start off like this, that I've watched a long time ago. That was on my radar for stuff. I used to be heavily into basketball, especially the NBA. I didn't really watch a lot of college, even though college was a lot more competitive. Shouts out to my brother Rob. He is basically a coach, not only for college in that particular league, but I know he's done high school. I don't think he's done, of course, gotten close to the NBA yet, but he's done there at a high elite level. So he's told me a lot about not only people, but just being able to pay attention to players and etc. the game. So especially basketball, reason being that at a very young age, I was put into different basketball camps. I went to different camps and played basketball. And I was heavily invested in, of course, for being in LA, you always liking the Lakers. Whether or not you also like the Clippers, but most of the time you was rooting for the Lakers. But a lot of the times that I did really get into sports, or at least especially NBA, it's because it was a family affair. So I would watch it with my mom. I would watch it with my uncles. I would watch it with my grandfather. Watch it like the whole family when we would come and get together. We always would throw on the game and just literally would watch it for a bit, eat, do all those different things. So it was such a basically a whole family, you know, it organized and kept the family together at times. As of now, I don't do any of that. I don't watch any particular sports like that. If I ever hear about any things, it's more so of highlights or, again, shout outs to my brother Rob, who will just send me some stuff about what's happening and going on. But getting to the point. Right now in the NBA Finals, unfortunately, the Lakers got swept. They got swept by the Nuggets. And I know it's like, why are you reopening a wound that has just happened? I'm just happening to do it. Boston played a close game with the Heat. They were neck and neck down to a game. If I am correct, it was Game 7 before. And now we are in the NBA Finals, which is the Nuggets and the Heat, if you didn't know that. So right now the series is tied 1-1, as in one game apiece. And right now, as I am looking at the updated games play-by-play right now, the Nuggets are pulling away with this with 93-79, 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So it's getting very interesting. I don't know who y'all got. In particular, I don't really care too much. When I used to also play, reason why I also like to get into sports too is then because of video gaming. So when I used to play, especially NBA 2K, any of the 2Ks, at a moment in time, the Nuggets was one of my teams that I like to play with. And it was because I like to play with Ty Lawson. I don't know where Ty Lawson is now, but shouts out to Ty Lawson. And if you're going to ask me who would I go for then, because of that fact of me playing that game a long time ago, I would pick the Nuggets, which is hilarious. Even though they are still in the Western Conference, which is in the Western area, versus the Heat, I would pick the Nuggets. So that's what's going on there. Most of the time, too, with basketball, and then, of course, I'll get into other sports. But most of the time, too, with basketball, what drew me to it was, of course, the athleticism, the talents of the excitement of key star players being able to do these amazing feats, windmill dunks, crossing somebody over, and just creating the space and shots of just playing. And one of those people, if you were to ask me, okay, then who's one of your favorite basketball players of all time? And shouts out to my boy Rom Tattoos. What's good, my G? What's the word? Hands down, the first person that I will say, and this is because this person has so much influence on me, especially coming into a league where there is basically just tall people all around you. And no, I'm not going Muggsy Bogues, even though shouts out to Muggsy Bogues, as well as Spud Webb. Shouts out to Spud Webb, Nate Robinson, again, they have big hearts. Was Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson is still, in my book, my favorite basketball player to this day. And it's not only because of the fact that he was amazing at what he did. For me, it was super relatable because of the fact of even off court. Like, this dude, it's not only that it made it seem that he was like inhuman when he was on the court, but even off the court, even with all the issues and stuff that he got into, it was how realistic he was, not only with the people, but just the press and everyone else that was around him. And then, of course, his hunger to win was crazy, too. Like, we talking about practice? Playing. But, yeah. Y'all can throw y'all's too in there. If y'all have a favorite basketball player of all time, or just, yes, in general, someone that you're watching too, basketball-wise, put them down in the comments. My brother said Jordan. Jordan is basically the brand of the NBA. It's just the brand of the NBA. I don't even remember way back when who else was like the face of the NBA like that. Besides, of course, you have Dr. J. You had, oh my goodness. Well, I think of Clyde Drexler. Man, you had Patrick Ewing. You had Hakeem Olajuwon. Who else do you have in the of course Abdul Jabbar. Bro, there's so many people that I'm like trying to name. A fun fact, for my LA folks, way back when. If you know who Eldon Campbell is, shouts out to him. Cause my grandmother actually lived around in the same area that Eldon Campbell lived, and I did see him once coming out from his very expensive and nice house in the area. But yeah, there's so many great NBA basketball players that graced the basketball court. But one of the things too that I also liked about not only Allen Iverson, but a lot of these great basketball players is they're not only putting their work on the court, but even off the court, whether if it's through activism. You got some of them being in movies, which is, crazy, as well as just having another say versus this them being a basketball player. They're just more than that. You get to see a more well-rounded view of who they are as a person, flaws and all. But right now, if you're really tuning in, the Nuggets is still winning. That's all I'm gonna tell you now. Is that the Nuggets is just taking them to the cleaners right now. But right, another one, which I was never really into like that. I would go to sporting events to see it, but it didn't catch my eye like that. But the MLB, Major League Baseball, I wasn't really into baseball. Funny thing is, even though I wasn't into baseball, I had a lot of friends, especially in high school, who played baseball. And there's about, I know one off the top of my head, but possibly there was two that played at my high school, and they actually made it into the league. And they had really big contracts, whether if it was for the Dodgers, or I want to end up saying, I don't know if they went on the Padres or anywhere else, but there's two folks. Specific, I know one for sure that went into Major League Baseball. And I know those dudes get paid too, and have really great contracts. But it's difficult for me to get into baseball. Even back then. Now, of course not, because I'm not really getting into sports like that. But definitely back then, I don't know, the atmosphere of going to a baseball game is pretty cool. Singing the songs, spending time with family. I went a few times with family, as well as on school field trips, which is surprisingly, went to school field trips to go see the LA Dodgers play. A long time ago, I remember getting those souvenirs. You get the wooden LA Dodgers bat. I didn't go to any of the Angels games, so all my Angel fans, no slide or anything at that. It's just I go there. We know we had a whole red and blue setup and situation too. Has nothing to do with any of that, but just couldn't really get into baseball like that. And the only other time that I paid attention to the baseball, again, most of this stuff when it comes to sports, I'm going to tell y'all now, a lot of it is because I played video games. And all of these video games would get me into it. So, but going back to the NBA, and then I'm going to come back to Major League Baseball, to MLB. Also, some of my favorite games based off of sports. There's another one was all the NBA Streets. I played all of the NBA Streets. Those things was extremely fun. Like, extremely fun. I love the series. I love what they did with it. I love the cartoony stuff about it and everything, as well as the characters that they played in there. All these ridiculous dunks and moves that you can do. And the funny thing about that too is I would take some of those moves, which also shouts out to And1. The And1 mixtape tour, anything And1 street ball wise. I took some of those moves from those video games, from NBA Street, as well as from And1, and I was doing that all on the court, all of that stuff. I would be trying to do that. I'd be doing all them crazy moves. Of course, some of them was traveling, of course, and others carry, all these other different things. But it's just funny to just and use that while you're at school, and kids are like, "What are you doing?" But yeah, what's going on, Kundan? Peace and love. Peace and love. Yes, I am finished with current events. But if you have something, you can throw it in there. Right now, I'm just talking about sports. I'm really talking about my experiences with particular sports that I'm picking out. Why I used to like them, and now I'm going to get later on into why I'm not really into sports like that as of now. But going again, I'm been jumping back and forth. But another thing too that I did, reason why I also like like basketball so much too is because of the fact that I met, again, other basketball folks, and shouts out to the professor. I got to meet the professor, take a picture with him, as well as forgot my other boy that was in street ball too. There's a number of people. It's just off the top of my head, man. Is it Bone Collector? I think it was Bone Collector. Also met Bone Collector as well too, but it's because of the fact that it was the excitement and the fun that drew me in. And then, of course, of me being a gamer and all of those inputs and then trying to apply them in real life is what also drew me into loving, especially basketball the most. I used to really try to practice and go out there and get my shots. I would have on like the wristbands. I even have on a headband from Allen Iverson. There was even a point where I would get the little finger stents that was there. Like it was like trying to get the whole attire. Like, yeah, I play basketball, even though I'm not really about that, especially not anymore. But yeah, it said I have mixed feelings about sports because it does foster discipline and teamwork, but also it's like bread in the circus. Yes, it is basically what. For the Roman thing, I think of the whole Roman Colosseum and theater, all of that setup is really just the entertaining the masses. That's exactly why, one of the points of why I don't. And again, get later on to the last topic for tonight. That's kind of where I'm going a little bit with that too. You always hit the points very succinctly, Kundan, always. But yeah. That's probably the other thing too, like you added in there, the whole idea of your camaraderie, if I'm saying that correctly, and being able to work towards a goal greater than self with a group of people. It is very important. It is a very important lesson to learn, because not only do you learn this very early on, whether if you're at school socializing with other students and kids, but also when you go out into the world, and if again you protesting or you're really standing up for particular rights and stuff like that, you got to be able to link up with a group of people, have an idea, stand strong on those firm beliefs and ideals, and work together. Don't matter the skin, don't matter any of that. Like, we here for this higher, bigger purpose than ourselves. So I appreciate that point. We also got women's college, the World Series going on. I don't know much about that. Again, this is the baseball stuff. I'm not keen to all of the baseball stuff, as well as now again the whole Messi situation. Not like it's a Messi situation, but Messi, the soccer player, and how he's moving to, I guess, why he chose MLS over Barcelona and Saudi Arabia. So he's working in a different league for Major League Soccer. I thought he was done, but I guess Messi still got more plans to keep staying on the soccer field. So shouts out to him. And especially now, since we're doing that, I was supposed to come back to baseball, but not really much more that I've had from baseball besides the video game, which was Ken Griffey Jr.'s like Major League Baseball. I didn't really play like MLB The Show or any of that. I played those ones. That's way back when. If you know about the Ken Griffey Jr.'s, then yeah, and you know what I'm talking about. I think those actually, the Ken Griffey Jr.'s is what turned into the MLB whole series, like the MLB 2000. Then it turned from that to the MLB The Show, and just tried to run the same ideas of NBA 2K, and then also NFL be doing the same thing. Which, into the next part, football. Now, football, it was basically neck and neck for me when it came to how much I either watched or I got some type of joy from watching way back when. And part of it too is because I played this stuff. I played flag football back in middle school, and then went on to play tackle or play football back in high school, which is very interesting. It was a very interesting time to do that too. And for those who at least know high schools, especially out here in Cali and more so in this will be in the South Bay area. The high school that I went to was Sarah High School, aka Junipero Sarah High School. That school was definitely a sports school, whether if it was basketball, football, as well as track. Our school was known for sports, either getting folks or just being always in the CIF championships, nationwide championships. It always was there. So for football, I played a lot in high school. I played 2 years of football, whether if it was on JV, then straight into junior, then varsity for a small point in time. But I played, and during that time, playing football, it was an interesting thing. Locker talk and like being in the locker is very interesting. What's going on, Smiley? Peace and love. Good to see you up in here. What's the word? And shouts out as far as news. Well, I just had my birthday. Well, happy belated birthday, aka happy belated solar return, Kundan. Much love to you. We are grateful for you and thank you for being here. So much love to you and on your birthday as well. What's going on, Smiley? Just up in here. We going through talking about sports. I'm not going to keep it as long for sports, but I'm talking in terms of what at least drew me into sports earlier on, because as of right now, I am not a sports fan in any way, shape, or form. I may hear about it here and there, but as of now, I don't really go into sports, not as much as Steph and Lyrics gets into sports. That's why I leave it to them, because my sports knowledge and acumen at this moment is close to non-existent. So yeah. So we just up in here doing that. So good to see you. But back to football. Playing football in high school also got me again to playing not only the games, which some of my favorite football games was not like the NFLs. I did not like any of the NFLs like that. But I like playing all of the other off-brand ones. So I used to play NFL Blitz. I also played, my favorite ones in the series was NFL Streets. So I played NFL Street, the first one, as well as NFL Street 2 is my favorite one. It is one of the ridiculous ones, but the third one is more ridiculous, and I'm gonna tell you why. But NFL Street Volume 2 was hands down my favorite because of the fact that I learned the gameplay so well that wherever I would go and play it, literally I would be dominating so many people. I'd be dominating playing my uncles. I would dominate my homies playing. And shouts out to my brother Rubber Ducky Russ. He gonna be mad at me about this, but hands down, when it came to NFL Street 2, nobody wasn't touching me. At least around in my circle of friends and folks. Nobody was touching me. Because the ridiculous things that you can do on that game, you jumping off of cages, you can jump off of walls and catch things. Like there's so much stuff. Like if you literally learned how to put all your stats into certain things, like it's cheats. You can say it's cheats, but you can say it's cheap. But I found all those loopholes, and I was able to play around them. And yeah, I would make some people mad and upset. And that's why shouts out again. Rubber Ducky Russ, he get mad at me because he don't want to play the second one, but he'll play the first one. He'll play the first NBA Street or NFL Street, because that's the one where he can have a closer game that I still did not have a grasp on like that. So that's the one he'll be like, all right, let's play that, because then he know he can beat me more in that one. But other than that, with like NFL, most of the people that I did watch in NFL, it was really, really a lot of the quarterback, like the black quarterbacks back then. Shouts out to Mike Vick before the whole situation with the dogs, as well as Donovan McNabb, Dante Culpepper. Like those are the few teams that at least I liked watching a lot. Was like the Eagles, the Falcons, the Vikings. I really, really didn't watch much of who else. Like I'm not really thinking like the Raiders. The Raiders was cool. I wasn't really with the Chargers like that. And then the Rams have been moving back and forth. I used to watch the Rams when they was in St. Louis. Then after that, for them moving over to become the LA Rams, which again, playing in high school, there are folks from my high school that have went on to be and play in the NFL, whether it's been on the Jaguars, the LA Rams. One in particular, the reason why I know off the top of my head is because I've seen this dude a number of times, was Robert Woods. Robert Woods, I don't know if he's still playing for the Rams, but that's one of the brothers that I used to go to high school with, ran track with. Dude was a monster on the field. That's all I'm going to end up saying. Very cool person, in person, can be goofy, but it's real cool folks. That's what I would want to add to that. But man, I'm telling you, those are the only reasons why, especially for football, that I was really into it, is because of the fact that it's these video games and then actually playing it for myself. But once I got out of not really doing any of that, I just really didn't pay much attention. It said true. I'm really only into wrestling. I used to be into football though. Madden used to be. It was a thing. I'm telling you, it was at a moment in time. It was. But I feel you on that. That's one of them. Smiley for me. Wrestling way back when. Earlier, like the early beginnings of wrestling, I was really into, because again, it's tied to family. This is something that like I can be a part of, including like family members. And that was back, this was before even like Kane. I think Kane was wearing a mask, but like that was before like Kane really wearing a mask. I was watching, who else? Of course, Gold. We talked about Goldberg and talked about Goldust. The early on inceptions of Rikishi, the beginnings of Triple H. I think that Attitude Era was nothing to mess with. Yes. Like that whole setup. Now you're trying to make me think, because again, I wasn't too heavy into wrestling, but when I was at that point in time, like a few wrestlers that I did like to watch, and I think you guys talked about him before, and this was like later on after the show. Chris Benoit, unfortunately to what happened, but Chris Benoit was one of them that I like to watch. Rob Van Dam was another one that I like to watch. Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, The Rock, of course, The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And at that time, too, I did not like Kurt Angle at all. I don't know why. It was just something about him. Probably it was just because of he's always was wearing the Olympian suits and all of that. Like, and his theme song sometimes would just make me mad. But, like, him. The other one that I thought was funny to watch, too, was the Hurricane. I don't know if you guys, he had on like the green hoe attire. Always coming in, he's like, it's a hurricane coming through. Like, that's one of the people I watch, as well as Booker T. When he would do this and then do the spinneroonie, oh yeah, man, I would be trying that a lot myself. Every time he'll do that, then try to do the spinneroonie, I would do that just because he would do that. But other than that, man, because I really didn't see, look it. I'm glad that we like going over the whole realm, because I was just going to go to more of the commercial sports. But I like this because wrestling said team sports versus individual sports like tennis and badminton and golf and table tennis is also interesting topics to ponder. Yes, golf. Unfortunately, I didn't really pay attention to golf like that, because the only people that everybody will be talking about is Tiger Woods. And the only other times that I would really have conversations about golf is if I would go and play myself. But it wasn't like the real golf unless I went to just a driving range. But of course, going to mini golf places and actually going on to like golf fields with like the golf carts and stuff for other people, but not playing myself. But it was just, of course, always hearing about Tiger Woods excelling in the game of golf and knowing not only the gestures, but the attitude that you would have to have when you would go to a golf game, the soft golf clap. That's why there's a such thing as the golf claps and those particular things. Tennis, I'm not going to lie, I should have got more into tennis. I started liking tennis a lot more when I got to college. And again, you're starting to hear and see the trends. Every time I played a sport, that's when I started investing time and looking into the sport. And tennis, at a point in time, at least my first year in college, I was really into it. Like, because I had a tennis class, or at least one of my PE classes that I had to take for prerequisites for my A through G's, all of that stuff. Just my other classes that I had to, my elective classes. I took PE for tennis. Man, I had fun. learning how to play tennis, and then also watching, whether if it was Wimbledon, watching literally just regular tennis, men's and women's. Honestly, both men's and women's, I would actually, that's one sport that I actually watched both men's and women's for, was tennis. Other sports, I was only just watching just men's. I didn't really watch really women's basketball, whether if it was college or the WNBA. No disrespect. It's just, yeah, tennis was a different beast. I really like tennis. Let me see. Okay, we got this in here. Eddie Guerrero is my favorite wrestler of all time. It was something about his demeanor and the way that he carried himself that he was just real to me. He was like real. And it's unfortunate that all this stuff that happened, especially with the wrestlers. I know it's a very difficult life, and especially you putting your body on a line every time you come out there, and you are going out there to perform, whether if people say it's scripted or if it's real. But they put their bodies on the line, just like all of these sports, which again, I will commend all the people who do sports just for other people's entertainment. You're putting yourself and your body on the line. And some of us, I will say, we appreciate you. While at the same time, is if you know later on this is something that you don't see yourself doing long term, please do it before you really fully injure yourself to no return, or your mindset changes till there's almost no return, because we don't want to see you go that side. But yeah, she said, I met Hurricane last year. Nice. I used to play badminton a lot in my teens. I played table tennis too. Table tennis is that AKA ping pong, but they call it table tennis. Again, I didn't really watch like people play. Now you're making me think of like all the other sports, because I never even got to really watch people play badminton. But now you're making me think of, what was I about to say Quidditch for? That's freaking from Harry Potter. That's hilarious. But cricket. One of my friends from Sri Lanka, who actually was a friend I known in elementary and middle school, and I know he went off to a different high school. I learned about that from cricket from him, and we got to play it a few times before, and that actually was pretty fun. But again, for me to like go to the sports pages and watch all of these ones, that wasn't necessarily something that I would go and see myself. But yes, there was a whole series of a book called Inner Game of Tennis, Golf, etc. Again, if y'all want y'all book recommendations and y'all want to know about more stuff, but in some material to read, Kundan coming through with the recommendations. Again, there was a whole series of books, if y'all hearing this, a whole series of books called Inner Game of Tennis, Golf, etc. I don't know, just Google that and the series will pop up. Because now you're making me think of too that I will also get the Sports Illustrateds, and I will be going through the Sports Illustrateds when they would have those sent to the house. When magazines was a real thing, I don't know. As of now, I mean, magazines are still a thing, but having magazines sent to your house, I don't know if y'all do that or anybody else is still doing that, but yeah, it was somewhat of a thing. So, speaking of us going all around for different sports, now you made me jump to another one, which I've done a lot and I still have respect for it, and it became an Olympic sport. I'm not trying to say when, but I know they start showing it around on the Olympic circuit, was skating. And what I mean by skating, not figure skating, but more so skateboarding. Is that something that even today, even if I don't, I still got it in my car. I'm ready, set to go at any moment to do some skateboarding. I got my shoes in there and we all set in there. But skating was something that was extremely dope that I like to do as well. I started skating probably towards the end of my 7th and 8th grade year. And part of the reason why I got into skateboarding, again, was friends, the community around me, and playing video games. Shouts out to the whole Tony Hawk series. I don't care. The Tony Hawk series put a lot of people on. I'm telling you. Like, if you didn't really know much about skateboarding and you played the Tony Hawk series, you would literally get to learn much about skateboarding just from playing. So shouts out to Tony Hawk for creating a very classic series that still to this day is doing its thing, man. Man, I'm telling you. And some of my favorite skaters, I got to learn about them from Tony Hawk, man. Shout out to Kareem Campbell, all the special moves that they would end up doing. Bucky Lassick, Bob Burnquist. These are also folks who are specifically more vert. There's two different. There's vert and street. Chad Muska in the beginning, because Chad Muska was over here trying to being hip hop and also the skater at the same time. And then later on, for more skaters to come through, you got your Nigel Houstons. You end up getting your Ryan Shecklers. You got your Day One Song. Shouts out to Day One Song. Day One Song is somewhere here in Gardena, some area in here. He's always skating these places, and I have yet to see him. I really want to meet Day One Song, because Day One Song is dope. As well as some of the like beginning fathers of like skateboarding. Oliver Ollie, I think it's Oliver Ollie if I'm correct. I may be wrong. Again, don't quote me on my skateboarding history, but where the Ollie came from. And then of course Ronnie Mullen, him, Daewon Song, and who else? Him, Daewon Song, and is that either Jamie Thomas or is a few other folks that, oh yeah, Bam Margera too. Like these folks really like got me into like really liking the skateboard just because of the fact that not only it was entertaining, but when I got into it, it was fun. And playing all of the Tony Hawk games again, y'all, I can't stress it, is these video games and that just like immersing you into the world really starts to give you a taste of you either seeing how much fun you can have from it, or just again on the sidelines really enjoying the stuff or getting joy from the entertainment. But man, skateboarding, bruh. But Tony Hawk's American Wastelands, those were fun. I like Tony Hawk's American Wasteland, Tony Hawk's Underground. What else? Project 8 was terrible. I didn't like Project 8. Didn't like Project 8 at all. And the first Tony Hawks was just sick. Those were just sick. Super sick. But see, now you're making me think of all the other ones. Now you're thinking of all the Olympic sports that are played, you know? But there's so many of them that I can quote and we can go into. But now let me look at these comments before we get back and say, oh yeah, skating always looks fun, but it's scary to actually do it. I'll say this, Kundan. I stayed on the ground as much as possible. The times that I did skate, I got hurt a few times. And most of those times that I got hurt, it was either because I was transporting myself somewhere and I would get hit with the infamous rock hitting the wheel and your wheel not being fast enough to go over the rock, and I skirted and flew. Either way, I flew this way, or I unfortunately skidded my knee doing that. Or if I tried to ollie stairs, kick flip stairs. I even one time tried to tray flip a stair. Nah, I'm stay on the ground. I went on the ramp a few times, and I've been in the bowl at least 3 times in my life. And yeah, I like to stay on flat ground. I don't necessarily like to go in the bowls and skate the bowls just because of the fact that, yes, you get that weird sinking feeling, especially if any of my folks who've ever skated, you get that like sinking feeling, which is, you know, the anticipation of you going down. It feels so weird that you'll automatically drop. I can not say I couldn't do it. That was a feeling that it was hard to get over when doing that. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna keep myself on the ground. I'm not going anywhere else, but we staying on the ground. It said the art of falling safely is important. Yes. I learned that after my few attempts after getting hurt. I learned there's a way that you need to fall. Shouts out to parkour, which I think parkour is also another sport that is watched heavily. Parkour is really tight. Parkour is fun to watch, but it is extremely dangerous for all the stuff they're doing. So like all the American Ninja Warriors, all the parkour wars, like that stuff, again, it is extremely entertaining to watch and see. But I will definitely say, I will not do that at a high level. At that point, you might as well become a stuntman for movies, doing all of that stuff. Like, I couldn't. But I like how it can also translate over into b-boying, which is another element of hip hop. Because if you're really good at b-boying and parkour, it's like they intermix together, the fluidity of your body moving and being able to go over stuff and under stuff and hold freezes and have that core body strength, which your boy need to get back to some core. That was, again, one of the nice, it's a crazy feats to see, whether if in parkour or in b-boying. It's like this. Shouts out, what's going on, Jazz? I see you in here. What's the word? Much love to you. And I see you in here, Andy, my man. What's good? What's good? He said, let's work out. I've actually been boxing. Speaking of another sport, and this is one that I'm now just, not even say now just, it's been on and off for me. It's been boxing. And another reason why that has been the case is, again, my cousin. Shouts out to my cousin, aka Prolific Hands. If y'all want to check him out on Instagram, Prolific Hands, because he's prolific with those hands. He also does artwork, so if y'all want some artwork too, my cousin also does artwork. And he got some cool stuff with that. But my cousin is heavily into boxing. And through him, that's how I also got back into not only just boxing for myself to really do some exercising and working out, but again, after being trained a bit by my cousin, I really got to learn, and I think I've talked about it earlier on another show before, but I'm bringing it back because that's where I really learned the importance of the folks boxing and really the whole art around and the strategic part of boxing. Because when I first started doing that, I literally was just going there, just swinging wherever. I'm just throwing punches out there and I'll get tired quick. But after being able to spar with my cousin and learn a lot more, I learned that, there's actually strategy to this. Like, you're just not throwing punches just to throw punches. You're throwing punches to set up shots to also break down the defense of the opponent. And really learning the opponent's movements. Like, the boxing IQ that you gotta have for that is, again, to me, is very reminiscent of chess, because it basically, to me, it's like a game of chess. Not only to see who can outwit or who can outplay the other person, but at the same time is learning how to keep the momentum. And if you're able to keep the momentum on your side, you can win more rounds. Again, you inevitably either a knockdown, knockout, whatever you want to call it, TKO, any of those things. That's more combat sports, but my respects to those folks too. Y'all are putting your bodies and stuff on the line as well. So we appreciate that. You said, I knew someone who does parkour regularly. I know a few folks, but probably I don't know if they're doing it now, but yes. It's the sweet science. Yes. Yeah, strategy is another thing you learn from sports. Yeah, tiring the opponent. I mean, that's if you got to be very observant. That's another thing that you get to see in watching sports. Not only that you are very dexterous, you know what I mean by dexterous? That means your hand-eye coordination is on point, but also your athleticism is to a high level where even your acumen of like just watching the field in any one of the sports, that you're able to make quick assessments of what needs to happen next, or to break down a opponent's defense here, or they're not actually guarding you in the corner, I'm gonna throw you out the ball in the corner and you take the three, I'm gonna set you up for screens, like stuff like that. Also learning how to step up in roles, whether it's to play support or to be the leader. Again, the whole concept of just teamwork in general. Yes, let me train you, G. What do you know about boxing? Let me find out that you over here on your ways up there really boxing like that. Like, let me know. It ain't nothing but just sending me a message so then we can reconnect and get the numbers again. Like, just let me know. Right now, it's very busy for me. When I get home, and I have to put myself in a mindset to get some of this stuff done. Because if not, I'm not going to get any of it done. Shouts out to February 7th, one of the songs that I made a long time ago, talking about never ignorant, getting goals accomplished, working hard, all of that stuff. Gaining outcomes and lessons, that's a goal. Gaining outcomes and lessons, that's a goal. You get me? Gaining outcomes and lessons, that's a goal. I repeated it 3 times just because. I love acronyms. If you don't know, now you know. But yeah, bro, if you let me know that you're training, I mean, I'm finding my ways to be able to do so. I got a lot of equipment here at home, and that's really what I'm doing. More home-based training. I don't really go to the gym like that. I prefer not to. If I can save my money up to have some things, and I know people where I can go and train with them, like, for real, I will. Like my cousin. I know he know his stuff. That's why I don't mind going with him and training with my cousin when he can, because he's very busy as well, too. But y'all just really just throwing all these sports out here, okay? Motocross. We have BMX. We have snowboarding, which one thing I've never gotten to do yet in this life, but I do want to do some snowboarding. I, of course, went to the snow before, and I went down with sleds, but like to go down with a snowboard or skis, that's something that I would definitely like to do. And another thing with a lot of the sports, before I get to like the cons of why I'm really not really into sports like that as of now, and then we can move to the next topic, is just the whole idea of experiencing it versus just watching. The experience of you going through and actually doing one of the sports or the activity is where the love for it grows even more, because you make a connection to it. So all of those things that I was stating is either ones that I've done before, or if there's ones that I'm interested in doing. But if the interest is not high enough, then I'm not really going to go for it. And I think that's just about with anybody. Surfing is another one too. I've actually tried to surf before too. Like, again, there is a plethora of sports. And to try to say like, oh, we can talk about sports in just this small amount of time, I will be doing every other person in the sports that they are in a disservice. But telling you, there is a plethora of sports. I was just going to get like just the main ones just because. But see, we done went on a whole rolling round of different sports. Because look, I'm even looking down here, and I even got more. Look, I didn't even talk about hockey. At a point in time, I even played some hockey, and that was fun. I went to LA Kings game before. Watch the movies. Movies also got you into the sports too. Remember the Titans, Coach Carter, what's it called? I was gonna say He Got Game, Space Jam. Like, there's so many other sports, movies too that really got into it. Shouts out to also the Cuba Gooding Jr. and Cuba Gooding Jr. in radio, as well as Adam Sandler in Waterboy. This is all these other ones that are hilarious, but they talked about sports and got you into sports. You got the UFC in sports. I have a few friends who actually they went and fought around in the UFC, and they train in Muay Thai and kickboxing and jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, all of that stuff. That's one thing that I do, and I spoke about it before, that I would love to learn too, is a martial art. I would love to learn a martial art. And it is never too late. But that is one thing I will put on my list to learn, is I want to learn a martial art. But yeah, see, going to more boxing, there's soccer here, football. Like there's so many sports I'm not going to even try to attempt. But these are the points of what really got me into sports, is through doing the sport itself, engaging in watching the sports with family and friends, playing video games based around the sport, as well as watching movies about the sport as well. So these are the things, again, when I was really into sports, this is the stuff that I would do. Like, seriously, that was the thing. But yeah, it says working in teams helps out. Yes, it does. Gaining outcomes and lessons. Goals. Love this. Yes, take it with you. Surfing and skiing. Yes. At least you tried to ski. You attempted. Saying Legend of the Beggar Vance. Ooh, I don't know if I've seen that one. Remember the Titans. Yes. That one was a very potent story. A very needed story. Not only because of how sports can also cut through a lot of the politics and beliefs of other people, is very strong. As well as Peaceful Warrior, yes. There's so many of them. But now flip into the opposite side when it comes to, okay, sports is, it's all right. Like, I don't really indulge in it, at least of now. Why? Part of the reason for me, no disrespect, but part of the reason now, watching sports, for me, it's a waste of time. And let me explain why, at least for me. When it comes to watching sports now as an adult and not engaging in the sport and seeing it, it continues to remind me that now there's a point in time where you've already done a lot of this stuff. You've went along and you've played this stuff, but now you're just going to sit here and watch the sport hours on end and not doing anything else. For me, it was promoting complacency, as well as it was not letting me use that time wisely to develop other skills and other means for stuff. So I don't do it or watch sports anymore before one of those things. Wait, hold on, y'all. I'll be right back. Hold it down for me real quick. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, y'all. Appreciate that. Had to do a quick little intermission. Had something pop up, but we're all good. Let's get back in here. Okay. And I'll get back to my point, but let me see what's going on in the comments. It said Legend of the Beggar Vance is also with Adam Sandler. It's a golf comedy. Oh, yes. Because now you making me think of, what is it, Happy Gilmore? I think it's Happy Gilmore, where, again, Adam Sandler's character is playing a golf movie. It's all in the hips. Like that. And then, see, now you're just making me think of other Adam Sandler movies. But yeah, that was a good one. And there's a whole section critiquing modern day sports in the Greek book by Gaddafi. Yes, I still have not read the Green Book. I have it, but yes. And then similar sentiment. Yeah, it's, and my perspective, it's a waste of time if you're not doing it, and where you can be allocating that time to be doing something else. Whether if that is learning a new skill or doing your finances, anything, meditating. I know people, oh, meditating, like some other activity that's getting you up and moving. Unless sports motivate you to go and continue to actually train and do and like play in local smaller leagues, like that's fine. But for me, just like watching the sport, talking about the sport with other people, like it's dope. But when I'm not really in it and doing it, it doesn't bring much value for me. Like, shouts out to all of the sports folks who, again, they put in that time and that effort. They had a skill, and they're doing that on a nightly basis, or again on a daily basis, just working hard. Like, again, your hunger, your drive, and your discipline is extremely high. Like, respects to you. But for me, it's just, again, watching that, it has become, for me, it's a waste of time. The second thing is, especially for a lot of the high contact sports. Shouts out to Latter Day Poet in the building. Peace and love, fam. How you doing? What's the word? A lot of the high contact sports, again, they're putting their bodies, their minds, their lives on the line. And that's one thing I don't necessarily agree with them doing just for entertainment. But I don't really like seeing a lot of people get hurt. And I know a few of us can feel that thought too, is as much as sports can be entertaining, like the thought of somebody getting really hurt is something that you don't want to see. Like, for real, I just don't. So that's sometimes why I don't like watching sports. It's like, I don't really want to just see people just, again, later on down the line, you hear about, especially in football, a lot of folks come out having had multiple concussions, memory loss, all this other stuff. There's a lot of cons playing sports at a high level for a very long time, that it has a permanent effect on your body, or it speeds up that process even faster. So I'm like, nah, that's not for me. But yeah, say, what's up, man? Currently in New Orleans, man. Okay, that's what's up. Oh wait, Adam Sandler golf movie is actually Happy Gilmore. See, okay. So I was about to say, I'm like, wait, hold on. The Legend of the Beggar Bench is actually with Will Smith. Yeah, lots of injuries, or lots of brain injuries. Yes, it is a very costly profession to go into, and I'm talking specifically, yes, about contact sports, but I'm even talking about skating, skateboarding, skiing, snowboarding, like any sport that you are exerting your body either very high or to the max, to your limit. There's so much, or there are so many times that you can continue to keep pushing yourself to the limit, to the point where you break down, you get injuries, you're out for seasons, things don't work as well as they used to before. I know that just comes with age, but when you're playing it at a really high level, you're burning a lot of those muscles and different tissues and things together very quickly. Gymnastics for sure, yes. But I do like gymnastics in the sense of, again, the flexibility and the fluidity with your body. That's something that can help with longevity. But yes, all the crazy spins, flips, and landings and things of that sort, after a while, takes a toll on your body. I know there was an article, if not, there's research that have been done about the pressure forces in all these different sports. And I don't remember which one out of all those sports. I would guess it would be a lot of more of the high contact sports. But when you are exerting a lot of energy, a lot of velocity and speed, and then you stop on a dime, or you plant or dismount in any certain way, shape, or form, the force is almost close to double, triple, quadruple of what it started off with. So your body is trying to maintain not only that momentum, but then when you stop, You dealing with almost twice, third, or quadruple times that momentum that you started with, and doing that again a multitude of times throughout multiple years. It takes an extreme toll on your body. And I don't, that's one of the other reasons why too, that at a point in time I also wanted to learn a lot about the brain. I wanted to go into neuropsychology, and then also I wanted to learn a lot more about the body, is because I think about our feet, and I think about all the bones and the structures in our body, and how our feet think has around roughly like 25% of like the bones and things in our body, and is holding up the other 75. So playing sports like that, and you playing at a high level, that you got 25% of like your body bones and things and stuff like that supporting the other half, is always mind boggling for me to think about. Like, that's a lot. That is a lot of support that your bottom half has to have for the upper half. It's ridiculous. But yeah, it says the way football is set up also makes me think of indentured servitude, of owning teams, and I can understand that selling off free agents, going here, oh, this is gonna make me a lot of money. Understood. M Gymnastics, they have to retire by like age 25, I think. That would make sense. If they do, all power and things to them. But after the fact, with, again, for me with gymnastics, especially again a lot of the stretching and the flexibility part, that to me is a very, very crucial to keep that stuff later on in life, because that helps not only the blood flow within the body, but because you get a lot of that and you stretch very well, you do proper breathing and the exercise, and again, you help to slow down the aging process in your body. So I like gymnastics because of the fact that that can help with your flexibility later on in life. So I get it. And if it's after 25, then that means no more high impact stuff that you're doing. It's just really just maintaining and improving from there. I'm with that. But another reason why I moved away from watching sports and really being involved in sports was a lot of the political aspects of stuff. Parts of kind of what Kundan was already speaking on too. With when you really look back and you look at the systems when you're watching these things, and how the folks at the top is making so much more than the players being played. And again, that's just about what everywhere, but that's capitalism for you overall. But once a lot more political ideals started to enter the realm of sports, and I can see why some folks got mad and upset and didn't necessarily want to be involved in sports after that because of those things. That also made me be like, I don't need to get all political watching and thinking about all of this stuff. Personally for me. But let's see what we gonna do. Yo, peace and love. What's the word, Kunya? What's the
What's the
word?
word?
So what you got?
Huh?
So what you got?
What I got?
Yes.
Yeah, like basically like everything you said. And yeah, like these movies are pretty interesting too. And also like, yeah, I think the, the bread and circuses aspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the modern day Roman gladiators. And I think, I think those gladiators must have been paid really well as well,
Yeah.
probably. And so today you can't have people legally, kill each other like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
but instead, you have people legally causing each other brain injuries.
Yeah. And
It's a
causing harm
slower, yeah, it's like a slower death, longer.
over a longer period
So,
of time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's hidden, so it's very covert, but in a way it's worse because it's happening over a period of time.
Yes. It
Yeah.
is. Because is the natural process of us again aging
Mm,
gets
mm,
heavily sped up. And another point that I want to, because you again, every time folks come in, y'all just again the brainstorms and the thoughts come is one of the reasons why too I moved away from sports too was because as a kid too later on I started to notice the the mental illness impact or the mental health aspect of sports
mm,
going out of line. And for me, it does remind back to a lot of the wrestling when a lot of some of the wrestler folks either ended up taking their families out with him or they ended up overdosing or they were put in other unfortunate circumstances, whether they were performing and accidentally were killed on particular set, wherever it was. It's a very high cost thing, and it can have an overwhelming effect on the person, of course, watching this tragic thing. But it just made me start to really think about the folks who are again putting their lives and their bodies on the line day in and day out, and then coming to find out in the background when you think everything's fine when you got to perform, but ultimately knowing that it's not fine. It just made
mm.
me was like, yeah, I can see the dark side of sports. To say, at least another way to say it is the dark side of sports would maybe be like, yeah, I don't think I want to delve a little more of my time really into this. Like, again, respects to them, but it's just like, yeah, are we not addressing the mental health aspect of some of these folks?
Yeah.
I know, of course, there's folks who have their, therapists, they have their physical therapies and things and stuff like that. Like, I definitely get it, but more in a sense of when we have situations that come out that football players, basketball players, snowboarders, anybody that's going through something and it's not as publicized, it's more publicized in the sense of let's shame this person, which again I can understand, but at the same time it's like, okay, what drove this person to go this way?
Mm,
And for those folks who
yeah.
was also into basketball right now, just to let y'all know, Denver won. If you guys want to know, so the Denver Nuggets beat the Miami Heat. Now the series is 2-1. The
Oh,
Nuggets are up. So if y'all again for my NBA folks, the Nuggets won. They got 2 more games to knock them out, and that's it. But who am I to really, again, who really like to care? But that's one of my other points is that just the mental health aspect not taken into account more.
yeah. Yeah. Speaking of which, like even in the solo sports like tennis,
Mm-hmm.
I think both Serena Williams and also Naomi Osaka,
Yes.
they took mental health breaks and they were criticized heavily by the public, by fans and stuff. And I think there's a lot of like both racism and sexism involved in those critiques, right? As well as
Uh-huh.
ableism and classism. But to me, what was the most galling were the fans or the people who were saying that that Naomi is entitled, right? And to
Mm,
me, it's galling and ironic because to me, it's literally a case of reverse victimhood, right? Because like this is a stranger, right, demanding that a complete stranger that they don't even know keeps playing for their
yeah.
entertainment.
Yes.
So who is the one who's actually entitled here, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Ah,
Mm, thank you for bringing that up.
mhm,
That is another point. It's just that's what happens.
mhm,
And I have bars for this. I keep saying it. People get mad. I don't care if you're gonna get mad, but I say it to a lot of people. Give them what they need. They will willingly desire it. Pleasing
mhm,
all their needs grants nothing but entitlements. So
mhm,
these people have seen you go day in and day out and play for their enjoyment. And then when you don't give them that one time their enjoyment or you're doing this, oh, something's wrong with you. Why are you not providing me this service? You've
mhm,
been providing me this service for so long, but now you stop? Oh, so now we're not cool? Nah, you should still be providing me the service when it's like, no, I was doing it not one just because I'm getting paid. But two, because I really had the joy of wanting to do this. It's not because, oh, yeah, you're giving me $10 and I should do this for you. I am not the monkey at the circus to be able to do all these tricks and stuff for you on command. No, that's not how it
Exactly.
goes. But that's what happens with, again, being able to give this to the masses. Look at most of the sports fans who complain about their team losing or talking about why they made these particular plays and done this particular thing. You're not going to catch them going out on the field and doing that themselves. They're comfortably
Exactly.
sitting at home, being able to say that they have like the highest of opinion. They got, again, they might have a great basketball, football, NHL IQ. Cool. But do you have that high level ability to, if you were to put yourself in that place, would you really be able to also execute that play? With
Mm-hmm.
all of that stress, don't, especially in the finals or like for a championship, you got to remember there's a whole it is a whole nother realm. It is a whole nother feel and a whole nother atmosphere when you're, especially in championships. You know that thing. This is what we've been working for from the beginning of the season till now. There's so much more pressure that's on the line. So you get for those folks talking like that, straight up hypocrites, of course. But again, I
Exactly.
have I done that before? Have I yelled at somebody for making a play that seemed super obvious? Yes, I have before. But then later on, I understood like, yeah, this was the finals. This is what was what happened. One great example, I will say that, and everybody still probably to this day will get mad. This was this when the Seattle Seahawks was on their run of getting all these championships, and the last it was the last one of the last possessions for, I forgot what Super Bowl it was, but for some reason Russell why should I say Russell Wilson from Pete Carroll, the coach, for some reason decided to throw the football into the end zone, and it ended up being a pick versus letting how I'm forgetting my homie right now, the running back for the Seattle Hawks, literally call him the Beast again, Beast mode, or yeah, I can't even think right now. Let him run it in, and that could have been it was literally right there. So many people around, of course, Twitter, all of social media was just making fun of it and just was mad. Even the players went in and also joined the fun of doing it and understanding that, yeah, maybe that wasn't the play to make. But again, you will have people that's going to be from the sidelines critiquing, and they've never experienced it for themselves.
Exactly. Isn't there a famous President Theodore Roosevelt quote about that? The man
Marshawn
in the,
Lynch.
the man
Sorry,
in
y'all.
the,
Marshawn
the
Lynch.
man, what? The man in the
Marshawn
arena.
Lynch. The man in the arena.
The man in the arena.
No, I don't know that. Wait, the man in the arena.
Yeah, that's a famous Teddy Roosevelt quote there, where it says
Mm,
something along the lines of, I mean, I don't remember the exact quote, but something along the lines of like, you know, they're basically like similar to what you said, like they're like those who critiquing are not actually in the arena, like they're not, they're not experiencing the punches or the struggle, and they're just in the sidelines. And so basically he's saying you don't have to care about these people in the sidelines who have never experienced what you have, who will
yes.
never experience it either, who've never been there, and who won't even get close to where you've been and where you will be.
Yes. Another
Yeah,
example of that, backseat driver.
exactly. Yeah.
How you gonna tell me how to drive and you're not even the one driving right now? Don't make me get in the accident just because you talk about I should go this way. The GPS is going this way. I know where I'm going.
Mhm.
Things of that sort.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a number of other reasons why I personally, again, stepped away from wanting to
Hmm.
get into sports. But those are those few, y'all. If again, you can go back through and watch these. If y'all have any of why, or if you still actively doing it, like, nah, you tripping, Av. It's like, why you not watching sports, man? It could be this and that. True. Let me know down in the comments. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm not the teller of all knowledge and all of this stuff, but I'm just letting y'all know why. For me now, sports is not really my cup of tea or any of that stuff.
Yeah. And like the way it is in modern times, it is also very sucking of the energy of the masses, right? The energy
Yes.
and also the direction and focus of the masses, uh, and then taking it away from, say, causing a revolution, for example, right? Like
Yes.
that's why it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, right? And that's why the players get paid millions, uh, millions for
In a
for injuring,
distraction.
for the distraction, for injuring themselves, right?
Hmm.
And there, and then there are even like more like worse and obscene versions, right? Over the years, there's been like the reality shows, like Fear Factor, for example,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Uh, and where they're paid, they're paid a lot of money for doing, the most dangerous or even embarrassing stuff, right? Like I
Yes.
think there was one episode where they had to be naked right in front of a crowd, right? And so that's like literally preying on poverty. That's what it is.
Mm.
That's what shows like Fear Factor does. And even like other shows like, the the more emotional shows like uh The Bachelor or other shows, right?
Yeah.
Uh it's it's still kind like not so much The Bachelor, but maybe like other types of reality shows, right?
Hmm.
Where you get paid a certain amount of money for doing a certain thing. And yeah, it's all like preying on poverty, and then distracting and derailing from systemic solutions, right? Where
Yes.
if you almost like you call it poverty porn too, like even when Ellen for example would donate like $10,000 to a good teacher, right, in the ghetto, it's very like yeah, it's very like saviorism, right? Too,
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, I'm gonna give you this and this amount of money. Now I look like a good person, and now I look like I'm part of the solution. But no, it is, going into helping individuals over actually helping with actually changing the system.
Yes. And since you are alluding to what you're saying right now, that's just basically going in. I'm just going to go right for it. So let's go into the last topic for tonight, which the last topic for
Right,
tonight
because all of
is the
that is
question.
entertainment,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
yes, yes. Basically, can entertainment be more than just entertaining? So
Mm.
go ahead, Kundan, take it away.
Yeah, like poverty porn is very entertaining,
Just
to watch
yours,
because,
peace.
and it's literally like taking advantage of people's emotions as well. Like, it's very gratifying to watch somebody who is in need and, cry and, and
Yes,
have that release when they receive the 10,000 or 100,000 or whatever, right? And it is very gratifying. It feels like, oh, you feel good, right? Like, yeah. And then you yourself as a viewer might end up feeling like you're part of the solution because you're watching the show, and by watching the show you're supposedly supporting the content creator, right? The
yes.
talk show host like Ellen, and you're supporting the TV networks or whatever.
Hmm.
And even though you're doing nothing but just sitting on the couch, right?
Please, beauty
Hi,
creation. What's good?
Alexis. Yeah,
What's the love? What's the word? I said, what's the
I
love? But yeah, the love too. What's
Alexis
the word?
creations.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with you. Agree with you. There is, and I was speaking. It's so funny you say that too, because then I was speaking with a student today, and how he was telling me about, oh yeah, man, my friends they just dared me to do this, man, and I came up on $5, and then I was just like. It's like, you did what? He was just like, yeah, he wanted me just to get down and do this, and I just easy $5. And I was like, you know what you just did there? And I was like, he was like, what? I was like, you just told them you have a price. He's like, oh no, 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 I would never sell myself to do this, and that. And I was like, but you just did to get something for $5. He was just like, no, Mister, that's not what I meant. That's not. But it's hilarious that again. I know this is that's more, the innocence and things and stuff like that, but just things of
Yeah,
that particular sort of like, okay, I'll give you this certain amount of money. Now entertain me with this. What you gonna do? Do you want this? What would you do for a Klondike bar? Tell me, what
right.
would you
Yeah,
do?
that reminds me of a real story that happened to one of the attendees of More Better Mondays back when we were doing it, where Lucas now he moved to, I think he moved to like Arizona like 2 years ago, but
Yeah,
anyways, when he was working here, he was working for, I think, Uber Eats, something like that.
yeah,
Uh, and then as he was on his way to deliver the food, like I think it was a sandwich or something, and there
yes.
was a guy, uh, for some reason, like, kind of intercepted him, and he was like, "Oh, like I'll give you $100 if you give me that food to me instead of delivering it to that person." And he was like, "No, I'm not doing it. How about $200?" He still said no. How about $400? How about 800? And I think he went all the way up to 1,600, and he still said no because he was like, he he didn't want to be a sellout, but he also wanted to teach a guy a lesson that not everyone is going to, you know,
Wait to your demands just because you
yeah,
got money.
exactly, exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly, and also take away somebody's
Yep.
dinner that they might need it now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, yes. That see, it's we'll go back to the point and then let's just we're sending you much love and energy too, pushing through. And I'm hoping that that pain later on down the line, as you say, hoping. I know later on down that line you will be in good health and
Mm,
the pain will be gone. So we're
yes.
sending that to you right now. So that that right there again is just very telling of the whole system again with having the way to be able to capitalize off of people because you have the capital.
Hmm.
Not saying that money is the root of all evil, but it's for the love of money is the root of all
Hmm.
evil. And how much we put value on this fiat currency that both me and you have talked about a number of times,
Yeah.
whether if it's through we know how really what's not even it's not even backed by any type of natural resource gold, etc. There's
Hmm.
articles about it, there's studies that's been done, we have the green,
Yeah.
all these different things that we know about. Literally, American dollar ain't really worth
Hmm.
nothing, but how it's used again to have people provide a service for other people's entertainment to either distract, keep people confined into a specific space. And I think it's almost making me go back to our same example that we talked about before of literally, did you just see the gorilla or the thing just dancing by? It gets people so
Right.
hyper focused on stuff that they're not paying attention to the world around them. Whether if it's I talked about earlier in a lot of the current event stuff, whether if it's politics, and finally now really asking these folks who are in the positions of power of like, okay, what do you get paid? Who are your sponsors? Who's really filling into you now? Which we should have been doing this a long time ago, but now people are starting to get more of a footing on it because they're like, oh yeah, we've seen the collapse of the dollar even more, and it's just like, okay, now who's taking all this money? Where is it going? We're learning to follow the money,
Hmm. Yeah,
but
exactly.
it's yeah. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, that reminds me too, like, things are bad when, like, I went to my local park in my neighborhood on Friday evening last week on the eve of my birthday, and written in chalk on the walls, like
Mm-hmm.
graffiti, right?
Yes.
So the good thing about this park is that we have a free outdoor gym using resistance training. So
Uh,
yeah, so so no one's gonna steal that equipment, and uh, since they're stuck to the ground. But anyways, on these walls though, like, it looks like some kids, probably high school kids, had written like really disturbing things, like, you know, and then it got more and more disturbing, right? As I read more. At first it was just free Andrew Tate, who was this, sexist, guy teaching men how to pick up women, and it turns out he's actually a literal sex trafficker, and he just got arrested in Romania. for sex trafficking, right?
That's yeah. That's the one thing I will push back on you with, Kundan, just
Yeah.
cause just cause there's this is where and people will get on me about this, but this is where I pay attention to the system very closely when they are going after certain people, whether if it was Trump, whether if it was way back when with not only Dr. Martin Luther King as well as with Malcolm X and a lot
Hmm.
of like historic figures. I'm not saying, of course, those other folks are like real big historic figures
I
like
mean, they're not
Andrew Tate and all of them.
equivalent. Yeah.
Yes, and yeah, not like big in the equivalents, but I'm noticing
Yes.
certain trends when certain topics are talked about, because again, it doesn't matter who it's coming from. If there's some trickle of truth there, like, I respect that trickle of truth. I may not like the overall image or the whole overall message to the person, but there's trickle of truth that's like, okay, why are you really doing this to them besides all the other
Hmm.
aspects? So
Yeah.
I get you on the whole thing with him finding all that stuff happening. There's receipts for some of that stuff. For many other things of that stuff, I'm kind of like, okay, why is that in particular? I know maybe this area of like what he's teaching, I'm like, why are
Yeah.
you really
I
even
mean,
worrying about teaching this? But other areas, I'm like, okay, he's promoting certain things that they're trying to push back on that actually is advantageous for a lot of men to learn, which a
mhm.
lot of it is just really more so the discipline aspect and then like being able to become a better person. I dig that from anybody who talks
Oh
about that.
yeah. I
And he
mean,
speaks he
there's
speaks about
gonna
that, but
be a
go ahead.
trickle of truth from anyone because there's a famous joke that's going around, right? Even about New Age teachings, right?
Mm,
Because people would say, "Oh, colonial spirituality," but people would say, "Oh, but it helped me, with this thing." Well, of
of
course it
course it's
did,
going to.
right? Of
Yes.
course it did, because
Stop
even a
you.
broken,
Smooth,
even
my
a
brother.
broken
Peace and love.
clock, even a
Mm-hmm.
broken clock is right twice a day, right?
That this is funny. I'm look at. I used to agree with people with that all the time. Now the only thing I will say with a broken clock being able to work 2 times a day, I need to know when and how, because I have broken clocks and I will notice, I'm like, is it because it's in the AM and the PM, but it's not always on the right like time, like as in each day of it. So like for me, broken clock metaphor, I'm like, I'm digging more into like, okay, does it really be able to tell the right time 2 times out of the day? Like, are you sure about that? But I get the sentiment.
Yeah. But anyways, back to the Park story though. So I was saying it was got worse and worse, right? So
Yes.
free Andrew Tate is debatable, let's say, right?
Yes.
But then the next one that I saw was Hitler was right.
Yeah. Now that
And
I would definitely look more into, but of course,
I
do
was
you
like,
really think the genocide of a group of people is something that you can just dismiss? That's something where I'm like,
wait, yeah,
any way that you look at it, it'll be like, oh yeah, but he had to get rid of those folks for this and this to happen. And no, I don't care if look, I don't care if you had to push. I don't know why this example is coming to my head.
right,
I don't know why you would have to push off a whole shopping cart of puppies off of a cliff just because you had to do something else to get away from this. So like
mm,
now you're making me think of the Saw movies. Like they'll give you this ultimatum that would be harming somebody else, understand, for your own livelihood, but at the same time is the morals behind it. Like you're really gonna
mm,
say, I'm gonna do this whole load of I'm gonna let 1,000 people go ahead and just RIP so that this one person can be saved.
right. But even Hitler, right? Like you could say some of the things he said was right, right? Like because there's a famous thing quote that's apparently attributed to Hitler when he basically said that it's a very it's something along the lines of like it's a very good thing for government that people don't think.
Oh yeah. Yes.
And but of course someone like Hitler would say that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even though he's right, but you have to look at the context to be like, yeah, of course he would say that. Like,
Yes.
like because that's exactly what he was doing. Like he was saying how nice for me. That's what he was actually saying. If you look at the context,
Yeah.
that's why context is how wonderful for me that I was able to easily become a dictator because people are
Yeah.
dumb. That's basically what he's saying, right? Like,
Yes. My goodness. Look, And again, for those, all right, my example, no puppies were hurt in this example. Just to let y'all know, no puppies were hurt. Yeah, you want to play a game? Nah, I'm definitely not trying to play no game. I'm about to go the other way. That's another thing too with movies. Again, entertainment. Some of these movies super unrealistic about how outcomes and things can happen, and that also fabricates things in people's minds to whether it has to go with the entitlement, whether if it makes them delusional, or again, it also sparks a sparks a negative belief that has a terrible impact. For example, way back when, for the whole, not only the segregation and stuff, but a lot of the black and white racism way back when, and I know this goes the span of like all folks of every blend, but the birth of a nation, that first movie in particular, and how that sparked a lot of
Mm-hmm.
killings of black folks in particular, just from white folks going to watch that movie, and it just put it in their minds like, yeah, we should be like a lot of that type of, in a sense, entertainment being the propaganda, how that propaganda propagates in your mind, then that then tells you that this particular thing that you were thinking about, you can actually do, as well as it is an option and might even be the appropriate option for you right now because it makes sense.
Right. Yeah. But it was very entertaining, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or for those, especially for
Yes.
that base, right? It's
Yes.
designed so that's how you manipulate the masses. You make things that are very entertaining, but you slip these messages into it, right?
Yes.
Uh, and conversely, right? Sometimes, and I see this often in Marvel movies where make they would actually make the villains say all the right things, so that you start questioning those things in real life and associating that with villainhood, right?
Mm.
Yes. A good example is Killmonger in Black Panther, right? When he stole that thing in the museum and when he said, wait, you guys stole it from us too, right? So he said the right thing, but they put those words in the words of the villain
Yeah.
on purpose. To me, it's on purpose because that way now, if you think about that, you're like, oh, I don't want to be Killmonger, so I don't want to think that thought.
Yes.
Subconsciously, that's gonna go probably go in some people's heads.
That's why they have the title of anti-hero, and there's a lot of anti-heroes throughout a lot of
Mhm.
the Marvels and a lot of superhero
Right.
movies. I know, what's it called, it just popped into my head. Deadpool's an anti-hero, quote unquote.
Mhm.
So there's a number of those that go against the norm of thinking, and that's part of also some of the societal pariahs that are just those people who are
Mhm.
just the outcast, and them having an outside perspective from the norm of everybody else that makes you be like,
Right. Yeah.
like, why do you have that in particular? Is there another way?
Right. Yeah. There's a really good video about this called by this really good YouTube channel called Pop Culture Detective, and he has a video
Hmm,
out called Marvel Defenders of the Status Quo. And and his critique was that all of the heroes, all the superheroes in Marvel, they're defending the status quo, and the people trying to change things are always the villains for some reason,
that makes
right?
sense.
And even that is subconscious programming because they're trying to they're trying to program you with, oh, change is bad, change is supposed to be only villains want to change things. If you're a superhero, if you're good, then you will defend the status quo.
Yeah, yeah. It makes a lot of sense from, again, a higher standpoint or even pinpoint. It does. But see, that's why it's important that, again, that entertainment is just more than
It is
entertaining.
more than entertaining, yeah.
It's because if we don't take time to actually dissect and look into a lot of this stuff, you're gonna miss all of the gems and all of the lessons that are placed there. Like, again, another, again, cult classic of a movie that people still are using to this day. I still like it myself, but there's so many other deeper lines, and we've spoke about it before. But of course, the main one, The Matrix, like it is still to this day, like, talked about. Whether it's for the real telling of like what life may possibly be, assimilation, all this stuff, the symbolism between the colors, the characters, what they were representing, then come to find out that they're extreme opposite of stuff. But how many times too that it is used within our culture to explain something. So going back to your point too about Andrew Tate, the other thing that makes me laugh is because he almost similar to how some rappers will speak on like death and then eventually it comes for them, or to some certain extent they conjure up these situations that happen for him. He was speaking on how some of the stuff that he was saying that the Matrix is going to come get him, and then this is the first way that the Matrix is going to get him, then this is the second way, and then eventually they're going to try to go ahead and get rid of me. And for right now he's been calling that to the T, because of the fact that not only because you're putting that out there for that to necessarily happen, but at the same time, what I was telling you, like at least my disagreements behind it is it's in parallel to a lot of things that happened with some revolutionaries in the past. Again, not saying that that's necessarily in his particular case, but it shows to a certain line that again, you keep the masses engaged to a point where there is not really much change and that status quo is kept up. But then once you start to begin to learn the opposite and be like, wait, I was going about doing this the wrong way, then you start the FBI and all these other different places start knocking on your door and start kind of be like, okay, now what you're saying is a little too dangerous and spicy for us.
Mm.
So all right, we gotta try a little something different. So my whole point going there is that once you start stepping outside of when he's talking about not only keeping the status quo, but you start to want to elevate people and you want them to start really thinking deeper into things and critically thinking for themselves to be able to help others, not just critically, not only think because of the way they want you to think, but think the way that you need to think. You become top of the America's one or whatever type of list, number one, number two, and number three.
Mm-hmm. But even in the Matrix, right? Especially in the latest one, Matrix 4, right?
Which I
You
haven't got to
notice
see, but
you
it's okay. You
notice
can
there's a
tell
lot
me. I don't
of,
mind.
yeah, no spoilers, but like not that
You
you
can,
care.
you can,
Yeah.
you can. For all those right now, if you're about to watch, spoilers. If you're that type of person, guess what? I'm sorry. You should have went and saw the movie. I don't mind
Yeah,
because I'm still gonna see the movie regardless. But spoilers right now to all
exactly.
you folks.
So, so there's a lot of infighting between the runners of the Matrix, right?
Hmm.
So what that implies to me is that just because there is that infighting, right?
Yeah.
And then that doesn't mean that the people who are certain people like Trump, for example, that doesn't mean that Trump is a good person or that he was right about right.
Right.
Like it is clear to me that if there is such a thing as a so-called deep state, that they did not want him to be president, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean that everything he did was very nice, right?
Oh,
It doesn't mean
yes.
he was a hero. It just means that yes, certain it's clear at this point that there are some powerful forces that did not like that he was president at all, right?
Yes. Yes.
and
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 yes.
and and one of those reasons is because he is such a buffoon in a way, right? He is like, um, and would he would say things that would accidentally reveal state secrets or stuff like that, right? And he did a
Hmm.
lot of that too, you know. And now especially with the whole thing with the documents that he supposedly stole or allegedly stole, right?
Yeah.
Uh, that well, it's not alleged anymore. Now it's proof. They already took those documents, right? So, well, things like that, where like he's not even a smart thief, like thief, like, and then he boasts about it. He's like, and then he possibly sold it to Russians, right? So things like that, like they probably knew he would do things like that, which is why they did not want him to be president, right?
Yeah.
So, so when, but there's manipulation on the right when they were like, oh, they don't want him to be president because he's such a hero for the people. No, they don't
Yeah.
want him to be president because is just dangerous for everybody involved, right? Including the so-called deep state. Like,
Yeah,
it was a danger to everybody, like equally. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I will say this, Kundan, to your point, there for sure is. That's what we call the shadow government. There's for sure
Mm-hmm,
other hands that are beyond there. Of course, you're not gonna be
mm-hmm,
like, oh yeah, we know exactly who it is and what it is. It could actually
right.
be, Kundan, it could actually be what you were telling me, and we've brought it. I mean, you brought it up twice
Mm-hmm,
before, but to bring it up a third time, it can literally be these random folks that are impersonating cops, that are impersonating different folks that have this big influence of power, just plant it right in our faces without us even knowing. That's the thing.
mm-hmm,
And I'm not trying to be all conspiracy theorists on y'all, none of that. Nah, I'm just coming up with some possibilities, because if you don't if you don't really understand also the workings of nature and life and the natural order of things, and especially when we talk about credibility, and
mm-hmm,
I've said that so many times, like, I don't care, like, if you are an extreme expert in this field, you're gonna have to always continue to backtrack to, okay, how did you get your credibility? Just because you got this degree here, all right, who said that this was credible? And it's going to continue to go on further and further and further and further down the line. It just makes me think of therapists needing a therapist for their own therapist, so that therapist needs a therapist. So to me, there is some type of link and chain of command, of course, of other forces that we don't see. And I don't know how high this quote unquote either pyramid or, again, hierarchy or levels go, but for sure there is, because the more and more, especially in 2020, to me 2020 just came to be that biggest realization of letting y'all know how dysfunctional the government is on purpose, and that, okay, somebody else has to have a part in this game too. Somebody else
mm-hmm,
has to. We may not have all the concrete proof, but from at least my perspective and seeing it, I'm like, there's so many more players to this game than what we really think.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and then when you put geopolitics into it, it gets even more complicated, right? Like
Yes.
so speaking of fake cops, like I told you a few weeks ago about the fake Chinese police stations, right?
Yes.
With real Chinese police officers from China, from the Chinese government, operating on foreign soil, including New York City, with a fake police station person. And yeah, of course, eventually when they were found out, they were of course arrested because they were like, it is a felony to impersonate, a police officer,
Yep.
on foreign soil. So, but that's happening, and that's happening in over 50 countries. There's over 100 police stations like that, right? And then the way U.S. government now is manipulating Indian politics is like they don't like Modi and his central government at all. So what they're doing now is I heard that they're having conversations with state governments instead,
Mm.
which are talking to central government, and they're kind of creating like a divide and rule kind of thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Again, the U.S. needing to stay out of other people's business, thinking that you are the big person in the room. When,
Yeah.
how long have you been a civilization?
By the way, they've never liked India, no matter who is in power, actually, even though now they're pretending they don't like Modi specifically, but even in their 70s and 80s, right,
Yeah,
where they were supporting Pakistan literal military dictatorship,
Johnny be
right,
good. Peace, peace.
which is why they had to get help. India had to get help from Russia, from
Mm-hmm.
then the Soviet Union, and in fact, even in at least two or three times, Pakistan literally threatened India with a nuclear weapon. And
Yes.
then during the time of Nixon, the U.S. government literally put its first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier into the Bay of Bengal during the height of the Pakistan
Pakistan. Okay.
Bangladeshi war, between
Mm.
that war. And so Russia, the Soviet Union, had to help by countering it with putting out two cruise missiles, two nuclear-powered missiles, and one submarine to show that, oh, we have a presence too. So if you shoot, we'll shoot, kind of like that. So
Mm.
to so up to that extent, so there was almost a nuclear war between India and USA during the time of Nixon, right? The only exception to this, and this may be also one of the many reasons why they killed Kennedy.
Yeah.
Kennedy at one time offered India a nuclear weapon, and this was
He,
before India had its own. They offered it to Nehru, the president at the time, and he being such an idiot, declined,
mm,
which
so,
delayed India's own, well, now they have their own nuclear weapon, but they had to make their own because he declined Kennedy's offer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Look, see now, look that. See, I didn't even know that was also. Yeah, that definitely could have been, if not a piece to also them dealing with Kennedy that way. I know one of the other ones is because his stance on privatizing the banks. The whole idea
Mm-hmm.
of the monster created what Jekyll Island.
Yeah.
That whole story about
Mm-hmm.
about basically making a lot of the banks and the Federal Reserve be more privatized, and his stance on that. That's what I thought was one of the main reasons why. But I mean, now you're digging in and you telling me about this, and I'm like, yeah, he was definitely trying to again go against the status quo of what was supposed to be done, and look what happens. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
why people,
Yeah.
and that's why people also use that as a means to keep people in line. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, if you start talking about conspiracy theories, or you say that, oh, watch, the government is watching you. Like I'll jokingly do it with friends of mine too when we're on the phone, and like randomly either the phone would drop, the signal would drop, and we get cut off or something, and we'd be like, yeah, man, they really listening to us. Yeah, the Patriot Act for sure is really enacted. Like all of that
Yeah.
stuff, like just because it's that is the unknown of what could happen if you speak about something in particular that you're like, okay, it almost is not, either it's unpatriotic or it's going against what the narrative is. And when you go against the narrative, oh, you better watch it before they get you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But let me see. One other thing, and then we're gonna get close
I
to,
think
to
we can
closing
talk
it.
about one positive thing regarding entertainment being more entertaining is, I
Yes.
think, this whole trend of the so-called edutainment, right?
Oh,
Where
yes.
you have educational entertainment coming out, right? Where even like kids, nursery rhymes or kids cartoons that teach English or teach math, right?
Yes.
Uh, I even saw literally yesterday I was teaching this kid because I saw on YouTube Shorts how
Mm-hmm.
to draw animals like parrots and mouses using
Yes.
numbers. Like like you just draw the numbers together and it literally forms the parrot or the mouse. And I was like, wow, that's really clever. And it teaches the kid how to draw. It also teaches kids numbers at the same time. So like a double whammy,
Mm,
So, and it's very entertaining because the kid wants to follow along, because it's kind of new and fascinating, it's novel, and you get to learn how to draw. So, in a very easy way, and it's like, wow, like the kid is learning drawing and numbers at the same time. That's really cool. So
wow. I'm
that's
glad.
a really good example of edutainment. Like,
And I'm glad you brought that up, because that is one repeated critique I have when working with students. They tell me over and over again, if learning was a lot more fun, I would be doing all my work and I would be paying attention in class. The
mm,
teacher got to learn how to get to me and really teach to me. And
mm,
that's where I'm like, I fully understand where you're coming from and what you're saying when it comes to it. And it's because of how our educational system is set up. That's why we have a lot of these edutainment places being able to find these new
mm,
novel ways, or even if we say it's nothing new under the sun, but very creative and innovative ways to
mm,
reteach a concept or reteach some type of lesson to kids, and they enjoy it or they get joy from learning like that. That's golden. And that is another part of, again, using entertainment in that aspect to help, which I'm glad you brought it up, because I was going to continue to go and be like, oh, yeah, so everything's negative about entertainment. It wastes your time. It makes you do this. Like, no, we have to be fair and know that there is, of course, two sides to this coin. But I'm glad you did bring that up.
Yeah. And also storytelling, right? Like with stories that teach people, literal concepts like physics or whatever, but also social concepts as well, right? Teach
Yes,
people about character or overcoming adversity, things like that. Uh, that's also very like positive entertainment.
yes. I
Yeah.
know, and I'll go even a bit further. We talking about if we learn how to really dissect the movies and get deeper into it. I went back and I watched a long while back. I went back and I watched the first season of Digimon again. You're like, well, Digimon? Like, what is Digimon? Yes, I love Digimon.
Hello.
Don't play with me. What's going on, treating you sweet?
Hello,
Peace and love. What's the word?
treating you sweet.
So the thing with that, I went back and I noticed as a kid, of course, I was just deep into the story, all the characters, all the creatures being able to evolve and change into different things as they digivolved and things of that sort. But as I went back and watched it being older, I saw that unknowingly throughout that type of storytelling, I went back and I really watched and I'm like, this was actually teaching real concepts.
Mm,
This was either teaching me concepts of friendship. And the crazy thing is with Digimon, it's blatantly out there. Each one of the kids, the Digi-Destined, they got a crest that symbolized a particular virtue. There was like
mm,
one that had the
yeah.
crest of courage, another one that had
Oh,
the crest of friendship. And it's like you didn't pick up on this stuff unless you really paid attention. And when I went back and I watched this stuff, I'm like, each one of their type of character developments and the type of mon that they got for that stuff made so much sense to learn this particular virtue or
mm,
particular lesson. And I was like, yo, that's so tight. But at the same time, it's like, dang, that went over my head as a kid. But when I'm
right.
back older and I watched it, I'm like, yo, that is so dope.
That's literal, right? Like it went over your head, but it went into your subconscious.
Yes,
That's the whole point of storytelling, right? It's like going into entertaining the conscious, but teaching the subconscious, right?
yes,
That's what it's
yes. I think
doing. Like,
one of the other crests was the crest of love. So like literally learning, they was learning how to overcome certain fears to really truly love someone too. Like it
mm,
was like, yo, like come on now, like stuff like that
I love that.
is just very
Yeah.
close of just literally the edutainment piece of stuff and knowing that yeah, we're just not being entertained by the stuff that we're watching. There's so much more deeper things that you can get out of it. So am I saying yes, you have to keep both eyes open when you watching stuff? Not all the time. There's points in time where you just want to be there just to zone out. That's fine. But most of the time, whatever you're watching, you can get some type of lesson or learn something out of it. It is just not to just entertain you. It
Mm,
is literally points, lessons, and warnings, signs, messages that you got to pick up and know, like, okay, yeah, this was probably what I need to do. Oh, I'm watching this a little too much. Okay, let me turn off the TV, go outside, and actually get something done. Let me stop complaining about what these people are doing on the TV. And why don't I become the quote unquote that change that you want to see in the world? The Mahatma Gandhi, or is that, I forgot what particular quote. I think that is the quote by him. But be that particular change that I wanted to see in the world.
yeah.
And it could be on a small
Oh,
scale.
yeah. Don't even get me started on Gandhi,
Oh
because
yeah,
I'm
no, I know.
learning. I'm learning so much about him that I didn't know before about how what a mess he made in India and what a terrible president he actually was.
Yes.
Like,
Well, I don't know what mess he
yeah.
made in India, but I've definitely heard not so great things about Gandhi.
He didn't, turns out he didn't even believe in democracy because he, in fact, he protested against the legally elected, who person who would have been the first president of India, who would have
Mm,
been a better president, and because he threatened to, I think, to fast, uh, yeah, I think he made some sort of,
hmm.
he did so many weird things regarding that and many other things, but um, because of his protests, Nehru, who wasn't even legally elected,
Yeah.
ended up becoming the first president of India.
Oh wow.
who was a literal colonial agent, colonial puppet.
Just like many others are. My
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
Just like many others are. Again, y'all, if y'all don't think people are put in places for certain reasons, there's reasons why. So when you think that you are actually electing a president or an official, you may just, they have already been selected, if you've heard those phrasings before. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, but how do you know this, Atlas? Again, there's too many key points. Is if you're not paying attention to your history and not seeing how a lot of stuff, I know the cliche of history repeats itself, but yeah, it's for a reason because people is not paying attention.
Right. It turns out he believed in like a trusty kind of model of rulership where he was kind of the power behind the throne. So
Mm,
if he wasn't assassinated, he would have been uh, the one controlling Nehru. And then the British colonial empire would be the one controlling, uh, controlling him. In fact, India would have received independence earlier had he not done something really stupid, like when there was a time when the entire, because most of the British army in India was made by Indian soldiers, right?
yeah.
And so there was a time in 1942, I think, when the entire naval fleet just decided to stop working. It was like a civil disobedience, right? Which is non-violent, right? They just decided refuse to obey orders, right? So it would have been in alignment with his philosophy, right?
Yeah.
But he sent, uh, but he ended up sending one of his, I guess, people, you know, one of the same guy who would have been elected president of India had he not intervened. He sent that guy to basically break it up, to tell those mutineers basically that, hey,
Yes.
you have to stop doing this. No one is supporting you, neither the Muslim League nor the Indian side. No one will support you, so you have to stop. And so they got disheartened and stopped, right?
Mm,
And and also the British made sure that the Indian army did not know about the protest, about the civil
yes.
disobedience, right?
Yes.
Because had the army also known, it would have been the end. Like
Mhm.
they would have to give up India.
Wow. Again, y'all, just
So
telling you, entertainment is more than just being entertained at this point. But I know there's much more we can talk on this, but just for the sake of time,
yeah.
Kundan, go
Oh,
ahead.
one
What
more
is
thing.
your wrap ups?
When you were talking about Digimon, there, I thought about Inside Out, the Pixar movie, which is similar, where
Oh,
they're
I have
teaching
not.
about
Yeah, I honestly did not get
it's
to watch it. I've only seen a bit of it because I actually was watching parts of it with students, and it was interesting. But go ahead.
literally teaching about emotions. Basically, it's literally, and because each of the characters are literal emotions, so that's another story, entertaining story that's like right on the nose, right? Often it's
Yes.
not on the nose like that, you know, but this one was. So there's so
Mm,
many ways to, you know, deliver a message when through entertaining storytelling.
yeah, I think a lot of stuff nowadays are really starting to become on the nose
Mm,
because of the fact that the the education
mhm,
has been declining in many ways. So sometimes it has gotten to a point because of not only because of the complacency of wanting to learn, but
mm,
also the efficacy and the effectiveness of the school system, as well as, of course, see the efficacy, the education, and also the entitlement of like,
mm,
yeah, like, okay, you told me that happens, but so what? I'm still gonna get this. Like, you're supposed to
mm,
give this to me. It's like, did you just not know what I just said? I said, if I'm not able to give this to you here and be able to learn, you be able to learn this, you're not gonna be able to get this from me. Okay? I
mm.
don't care. However you gotta do it, you still gonna have to do it. Like, come on now. Uh, but with that being said, Kundan, go ahead. We're gonna wrap up. Give your final thoughts and your wrap up for tonight's show, whether if it's any of the topics at hand. Go for it.
Yeah, it is. Entertainment is more than just entertaining, whether it's positive or negative, right? On the positive side, it can be very educational and you can learn stuff. On the negative side, it can be very manipulative with an agenda. And so you have to learn how to see entertainment as more than just entertainment and actually like really watch and consume with a critical eye and see like what's really being delivered, what is the message being delivered.
Yes. Yes. Again, succinct to the point, and for most of y'all, right on the nose. So, with that being said, thank you so much, Kundan. Thank you to everybody that came to What's the Word. I appreciate y'all so much. Show the love, share the content, do whatever y'all want at this point because, again, this is the final season. If I'm not telling y'all, this is the final season. So we're not going to be like, hey, A.D.V.I.S.S, come back for a season 5 of renewal. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. So enjoy all of this now and tune in with us as we continue to go on these next Wednesdays. But to wrap up for myself, when it comes to current events, the news, and being informed, it's very important that you at least take that time and use with a critical eye, like Kundan said, to read through and be informed and aware of what's going on around you. Because again, proper preparation prevents poor performance. So knowing this stuff can help you and your loved ones and those around you so that you can be aware and ready to go at any moment. Second, when it comes to sports, there's a plethora of sports that, again, we can talk about for days and figure out where we can go with all of this stuff. But ultimately, whether if it's on the side of promoting different aspects or different disciplines and virtues, on the same side, it can also promote some vices. We could have done it like that. There's vices and virtues in both, whether watching it and indulging in it or being a part of sports. So as long as I say this, whatever you're doing in sports wise, as long as it's helping you to improve yourself and become a better person and just an overall new being, go for it. If you know it's not serving you, then that's the time you got to cut it off. Turn off the TV. Go outside. Do something for yourself. Meditate. Hug a tree. I don't know. Do some gardening. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. But as long as it's helping you improve. And shouts out to you, Notes. We wrapping up, my G. We wrapping up. And lastly, when it comes to can entertainment be more than just entertaining? To echo Kundan's statements, yes, it can. You must watch with a critical eye, whether it's the positive, negative side of stuff. You got to be able to take the good with the bad and be able to decipher it out. Learning how to intake what you need and then outtake and get rid of the things that you don't need. So learning how to update yourself in that particular way. So have fun with what you're watching, but at the same time, know that you need to find a point of why you're really watching these things. So then you're not just only wasting your time, but you're also getting something out of your time. But with that, y'all, this has been another episode of What's the Word Wednesdays. We'll see y'all next Wednesday, or it could be the following Wednesday. Guess what? It's whenever I decide to. So y'all just got to stay tuned for the next episode of What's the Word Wednesday. Shouts out to you, Kundan. Shouts out to everyone there. Shouts out to all those who was here as well as watching later, whether on Instagram or YouTube. If you're on YouTube, go ahead, subscribe to your boy A.D.V.I.S.S Speaks. Don't worry. There's going to be more content in these long hours because I know some of y'all don't care about watching this stuff or care about me freestyling. I'm going to be coming out with more content. It's coming soon. Just give me some time. I got new equipment, so we on our way. But other than that, y'all, peace, one love, and until next time, we'll catch you. Peace.
Thank you.